Now, on COAG, and there was some advancements on skills training. This has been in the works for a while, but all the premiers signed up to it. There was also the matter of regulation and cutting red tape. Did they really make much progress on that, given that it's still really it's a fairly grey area about, OK, they all agree that there should only be one regulator and one consideration of all these applications, but will it be the federal government, will it be the state government who oversees these things?
Well, I don't think they made much progress. I understand they're coming back for another meeting, but this is a real problem. It was demonstrated in the Business Council of Australia's recent submission, just how all these regulations are inhibiting business and development. And we've had a lot of re-regulation over the last 3 or 4 years in industrial relations and in other areas, and there's excessive regulation at Commonwealth, state and local government levels, and I don't think there's a great will to resolve this, but it's probably more advanced now than it was 6 months ago.
But Queensland, they did accept that the federal government would have control of it in certain... they did cede ground on that.
I think, well...
In national heritage areas that the federal government would have the call.
There were conflicting messages from Campbell Newman, weren't there? Because there was that, but there was also him saying essentially that he would like Queensland to be the sole regulator, and he didn't mind if the feds wanted to send in an auditor to look over the shoulders of his bureaucrats doing that. So this is where this perennial debate about red tape, this is why we're in the perennial debate about red tape or green tape, because what sounds like a very attractive proposition and is an important goal, making it easier for business to employ people and grow, falls down often on the detail of exactly how you do this. But the one breakthrough that there did seem to be pretty uniform consensus around was the idea that instead of having back-to-back environmental approval processes, so the state runs through a lengthy process and then the Commonwealth starts having a look at it, that you might actually get some agreement that they would be run concurrently, absent an agreement that just one level of government does it.
Which makes too much sense.
Yeah. And on the red tape issue more generally, the thing that a lot of people seem to have missed is that a Labor government and the business community, big and small business together, did the preemptive announcement the day ahead of the COAG. Now, it's taken Labor 4.5 years to learn to talk to business. But this is not a bad development in the life of this government, that they're actually listening to business. So on the Fair Work stuff, there may be a quid pro quo
here.
But
that was designed in part too, wasn't it, to put pressure on the states?
Definitely, because you've got four out of 6 states now, Conservative states, and 3 of them with whopping landslides. So, well, sorry, 2, but Colin Barnett might be looking forward to one next time around. But the fact that the Labor government has opened its ears again to a business which, given the time it had in opposition when it ignored business, it's sort of almost back to first principles of Hawke Keating. Almost, I'd say.
I think that's a big call, George. Business doesn't agree with the industrial relations system. Business doesn't agree with the carbon tax by and large. So some people in business do, most don't. I mean, look, I think this is a good development.
Yeah, it's the dialogue I'm talking about, not the detail of what they do.
There's just far too much regulation in this country. There are far too many people on the public payroll. And it's got worse. Public services have increased at Commonwealth and state governments and great... I mean, this started at the end of the Howard government, but it increased rapidly in the Rudd and Gillard governments, and now in this budget we're supposed to see a reverse of that. But this country's got far too much regulation for the kind of economy we're in, and the carbon tax is a huge regulation. I mean, have a look. Campbell Newman showed the legislation at one of his doorstops. I mean, this is huge re-regulation. It's not... I don't know that it's reform. It's yet more regulation.